So basically, BioWare released a trailer out of nowhere for the next Mass Effect game, which in this video I'll unpack, analyze and speculate upon. During the times when YouTubers and fans alike theorized what the next Mass Effect would be, there were about 4 versions of what they expected it to be. A first contact story, usually combined with Anderson as a character, a small game between one of the games of the trilogy, focusing on smaller scale and the squad mates rather than Shepard, a sequel to Andromeda, and a sequel to Mass Effect 3. I saw some claims to some of these variations, so here is why it's nearly 100% a Mass Effect 3 sequel. If it was set in the time of the first contact, then there would be no Reapers. If it was set on Andromeda, it's highly unlikely we would have had neither the Relays or Liara. If it was a story between the trilogies, then the Relays would have still been intact. Now that this premise is established, let's take a look at the trailer's content. BioWare said to listen closely, and we did. The transmissions in the trailer depict mankind's history, the 20th century, the moon landing, first contact, humanity as partners of the galaxy, Arc 6 is away, meaning Andromeda's events, and Lost Contact, maybe they're in Normandy after the Reaper War. Credit to Reddit user Carl Boyson for finding this out. As you can see, the Normandy hull is there, destroyed. Given that both it and the relay are destroyed, this qualifies both the theory that it happens between the start of Mass Effect 2 to when we return to Shepard, and that it happens straight away after Mass Effect 3, since in the ending, the Normandy made it. Thanks to LP Ebert for finding this out. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. Granted, some of this stuff could be explained as retconning, but BioWare would already have enough of a hard job trying to fit in a sequel without retconning anything that's not necessary. We also see a dead Reaper, and hear the honk, which means that either the honk is part of the human history thing this trailer is going on, or it's simply a way to invoke surprise in the viewer successfully, which I doubt, or as a clue that maybe more than one of the endings is canon. A closer look at the aliens at a distance tells us that it's extremely unlikely that the refusal ending is canonized, since they appear similar to existing Mass Effect species. My theory is that they would do one of the two, go the Deus Ex way, which means moving away from the endings and viewing all of the versions as a confused, long-gone one, or the Dragon Age way, which would likely mean that the destroy-like state we see in the trailer is the default of the game, and synthesis and maybe even control can be imported from game saves. Now, I know my gamble confirmed it, Liara is climbing a dead Reaper, but while significant, it could just as well be one from before the war ended. If the third usage I mentioned in this video of the honk is correct, that would mean that they are hinting that there are at least 2 endings, as in the synthesis ending, nothing would prevent the Reapers from honking around. It would also make sense, as the next part of the video will show why it's unlikely it is only destroy. The supposed wrinkles on Liara's face and her matriarch-like robe hint that the Deus Ex way, combining endings together, is the one they chose, because that nothing makes doing this easier than moving few centuries in the story. However, if centuries are passed and the Reapers were destroyed, that means no one would repair the relays. Which means she and the rest of the species would be stuck wherever they are. Now suppose centuries are past. Her ability to travel to this snowy planet might imply that they found an alternative for travel. So if they did, why leave the Citadel broken? My guess is that they are leaving it intentionally open to have explanations for different endings, using the centuries to explain it, the Dragon Age way, or they combine the endings together to provide an explanation, the Deus Ex way. As a synthesis fan, I prefer the former. Regardless, this means that most Mass Effect squadmates would most likely be dead. While this makes sense as a way to cut corners, it goes against the theme of the teaser, since it's unlikely we are going to play as Shepard if Garrus is already dead. This could be explained as BioWare going the same route they do with Dragon Age 4. I recommend watching Jackdaw's videos about it. Having a hero of no special powers. It could prove very interesting since we only hear, not see, any humans in the trailer. Then the next protagonist could be whichever species we choose it to be. That would be huge for Mass Effect, but it's hard to know if it is even close to the truth. It is also possible, and even likely, that Liara would serve as the Varric of this Mass Effect, especially if Shepard is not the hero of the game. All in all, it is really amazing to me how much this trailer managed to show, and it is super effective, both with surprise and for me emotionally. Regarding villains, a rehash of Reapers or Cerberus is possible, but hopefully they got something else planned. Since this focused on finding Shepard's Omniblade and shows us the Alliance, I can see 3 types of antagonists we might have in this game. The Leviathans, albeit few in numbers, are the origins of the Reapers and thus very powerful beings. From a strategical point, they could serve as a spot for a safe Mass Effect plot. Another option are the Yag, which are a threat. They've been quarantined in the time of the Reapers, but with the Citadel destroyed and maybe few centuries, they could evolve enough to become a real danger. They are a very well designed species that could work as villains, or have one of them as a servant or villain, like Saren in Mass Effect 1. The third option is that if they are really going small scale with this, the antagonist would be someone human, or that directly opposes Shepard's revival. It would matter less than the plot and the characters of the game itself. I think the Yag would work best as they are very unpredictable and could be routed to serve as great villains. Other than that, it would make sense for BioWare to make the choices they mounted to lead species extinctions canon. We already see a Krogan back there, and since he is with other aliens, it might mean that either he is special or that Krogan are, regardless of the genophage, in the hands of Rex, which explains their long survivability and him not being at war with the rest of them. I speculate that the game's strategy to deal with this sort of choices directly relates to 2 things. How big it is, as it will impact how unavoidable the answers for the canons are, and how far it is in the future would respectively impact how detailed and flexible it is. Lastly, there are 2 things I want to address regarding this trailer. As we see 2 galaxies in the trailer and an ambiguous tweet, we might actually encounter Andromeda characters as centuries pass by. Secondly, who the squadmates are going to be, if centuries to last. I think that unless BioWare is going somewhere really dark with this game, we will see Tali and the likes in some way, whether it's flashbacks or as I prefer they do it the Dragon Age way, and find the sweet spot between the age limits of the characters and the time needed for Liara to look like that. Regardless, I'm super happy to see this trailer and how much data can be unpacked from it, and I hope you all enjoyed this video. Please comment below your thoughts on this, and if you have your own theories on the next Mass Effect. Thanks for watching, see you all next time!